So we have 3 new Kansepts, but I do want to talk about Kansept's Damascus here towards the end of the video. But first, let's check out the Kansept Main Street, the new one with the crossbar lock. So if you didn't know, they had the original one, the full-size one, and then they also had a little mini version. But the full-size one, 154 cm, liner lock, micarta or whatever material you got it in, and a titanium milled pocket clip. It was an awesome knife. I labeled it one of the best work knives. It's an awesome knife, very ergonomic, very utilitarian. But now we have it in a crossbar lock and a couple other improvements. So very smooth action, super snappy. They did a really good job with this crossbar. Great detent. And then the 154 cm is still the same, so it's still the same blade steel, but they improved the sharpening choil. So that was one of my complaints on the original one, was the plunge grind and sharpening choil. Now this is exactly how it should be done. Perfectly well executed. Great job on that. I do like the thumb studs, how they made it like a, like a hot green or, a neon green. I love that. It makes it pop a little bit. Now the one complaint I have right off the bat is I don't know why they didn't use the titanium mill pocket clip on the new version, because it's such a good clip. This clip is super smooth in and out of the pocket. It's a great example of a titanium mill pocket clip, but instead they used a deep carry clip. Now it's not reversible on either model. That's something else I think they could have done, because this is an ambidextrous knife. It's a crossbar lock. So being an ambidextrous locking system, you'd think that they would have put the clip screws on the other side so you could switch it if you wanted to. So that's the 2 negatives really, but all in all, super solid knife. It's still going to be a fantastic work knife, and now with an even stronger locking system. I have spine whacked it a bunch of times. I've checked out the lock face geometry. It looks really good. The locking gauges very well. It has T8 hardware all the way around. I love to see that. And all in all, I think they did a really good job on it. It is a Dirk Pinkerton design. And to me, like I said, it's one of the better work knives, especially for an affordable price. Now, the new Shikari. So if you didn't know, they had the Shikari, which was a titanium bolster lock. This is labeled as a hunting knife. Now it came in different blade materials and different handle materials as far as the scales go. My version is the Damascus titanium frame lock bolster lock with carbon fiber and a titanium milled pocket clip and backspacer. The action is ridiculous. They did a really good job on this one. It feels very, very premium. And technically, I don't think it was made to do it, but you can front flip it. Very, very smooth, straight guillotine, thumb stud action. Now the new one is smaller, more compact. So for a hunting knife, it's going to be a little bit more versatile. And instead of the thumb studs, they went to a flipping action. So it is a button lock flipping action. Now I do have a little bit of lock stick. It's not that big of a deal. I'm sure it'll break in. They did a good job with the detent. There's no jimping on the flipper tab, but as soon as you break the detent, it does flip out really, really good. And without like a super big flipper tab or anything. So they did a good job with the detent. The ergonomics are very, very good, especially, because this one is so good being a big knife. So it, being downsized, I like that it's still extremely ergonomic. And in this case, they did transfer over the titanium milled pocket clip. Really happy to see that. And yeah, they did a fantastic job with it. This is definitely, I think, a little bit more size friendly for most people, but not that the Shikari isn't awesome in itself, but it is a large knife, and a lot of people would look at it as maybe a little bit too big for them, as a regular EDC. But like I said, it is labeled as a hunting knife. As far as negatives go, sharpen choil and plunge grind I think could be better. I had the same complaint on the big one. You can see right here where it's got some deformities down here. You can see it smiled a little bit right there. And this is, like if I sharpen it again, it's just going to get wonkier and wonkier and wonkier. This is why I don't, I want sharpening choil and plunge grinds to be done better. But in this case, they did hit the plunge grind with the edge, and you can see what's starting to happen back there. Now, like I said, that's not from even a lot of sharpening. So that's just one negative. Now, the next negative is, pretty small negative, T6s. I would rather see T8s across the board. I think they did a better job doing T8s on this one across the board. They did one T6 on the inlay, but everything else Wait, is the clip? No, the clip's T6s, sorry. But the body screws are at least T8s, and then the pivot. On this one, just the pivot is T8, everything else is T6. I would prefer to see T8s. Other than that, you know, I have the lock stick, but I do, you know, think that that'll eventually go away. I think it's just breaking in. So the clip works great, and, you know, everything else is done very, very well. So the next one really quick before we get to the Damascus is the Model 6. Now what I want to talk about here is that Kansept actually has knives with Damascus for a relatively good price, if not a great price. So they were the first company that I seen that did Damascus for a price that was reasonable. So in every other time before that, I would see Damascus, even if it was just a little tiny inlay, and the knife would be like so expensive. But they brought Damascus to a market where you could afford it. Now this one's an S35VN sheep's foot blade, titanium frame lock, titanium milled pocket clip. I think the pocket clip does look pretty cool on this. Titanium back spacer, and then we have two forms of deployment. You have a mini flipper tab, so it is a very compact flipper tab, but it works good. Then you have the whole deployment that you can thumb flick or reverse flick. Good access to the lock bar, or at least decent access. They didn't really put a cutout, but they did chamfer each side, so it's pretty comfortable to disengage. Ergonomically, it fills your hand. It's not a super big knife, so it works. But the Damascus on it's beautiful. And like I said, for the price of what you're paying, if you're trying to get some Damascus and, it's just a little bit too out of your price range, check out some stuff from Kansept. They have a few models with Damascus that is super reasonably priced. The one complaint I have about this knife is the plunge grind and sharpening tool. I wish that was a little bit better. Other than that, it's a solid knife, so no real complaints other than the sharpening tool and plunge grind. There's some things that might not be my style, but as far as negatives go, the only thing I could really come up with is sharpening tool and plunge grind. So the Damascus, what type of edge should you put on their Damascus? Well, first of all, I think they do a good job with their Damascus. Their Damascus is a 9CR 440C mix, and 9CR and 440C is very, very similar to one another. So what happens is when it's mixed into a billet, it makes it to where the steel can be heat treated the same. So you're not going to get two different HRCs between the two different steels, and when you're sharpening and cutting with it, the edge retention isn't going to be two different edge retentions. It's going to sharpen up the same, and it's going to make it a lot better for the user or the user end. Now, it is different enough that it makes a pattern when it's etched. So it is in my opinion, a really good Damascus. And I've tested a lot of crappy Damascus that you do feel differences in the two different metals. Now, I've tested it with mirror polished edges, toothy edges, medium grit edges, and from my experience, let's talk about the polished edge. So this one actually had a polished edge on its last edge, and I've used it quite a bit, but what happened is it took a really good polish. So the edge came out really, really good. I mean, like hair whittling sharp, very, very good. But as I used it, it did hold on to it okay, but pretty soon it loses its bite, and basically the microscopic teeth on the edge bevel or on the apex that you want to help bite into materials starts going away. It starts getting slippery and starts getting slick. So now, it's not the worst. Like I said, it does do okay, but as far as a medium grit edge goes, it holds it a lot longer. So if you're worried about having bite on your edge, which you should be, and having the longest lasting edge you can get on their Damascus, a medium grit, say 600 to 1000 grit will be optimal. Now, like I said, if you want a mirror polished edge, you can put it on there. It's just, you're going to have to keep up with it by stropping it often. You're going to have to make sure that there's teeth on the apex, with your stropping compound. Make sure you have a good stropping compound, and then it'll be fine. But like I said, as far as extended use goes, the medium grit edge does the best on their steel, and it actually comes out really, really good. Very, very sticky, and it holds a pretty good edge too, for a pretty good long time. Now, this is the Kansept PRETATOUT. I should have already said that. I love the PRETATOUT. This is the more affordable version. This is obviously the premium version. Now, this is a model that I really, really love from them. Again, you can see some more Damascus, and for a pretty good deal for a titanium frame lock. Beautiful, because that's another thing. Their Damascus has some really good patterns. They have some beautiful Damascus. So, yeah, I like the PRETATOUT quite a bit. Now, you guys know what time it is. Work hard, stay tough. Society's relying on you. Until next time, peace.